Did you know that fear and wisdom can look exactly the same when you're making an important decision? They both tell you the same things. Slow down, think carefully, don't rush. The hard part is figuring out which one is talking. I've always admired Richard Branson. He's the entrepreneur who built Virgin Airlines. His philosophy is very simple. When an opportunity comes along, say yes, and then figure out the details later. Well, I've never been able to operate that way. My instinct is always to do the opposite. When an opportunity comes along, I start researching, I ask questions, I study the risks, I imagine everything that can go wrong, I weigh the sacrifices against the rewards. And at first glance, that sounds a lot like wisdom. And most of the time it is. But over the years, I've begun asking myself a different question. Who is speaking to me right now? Fear or wisdom? And let's be clear, wisdom isn't impulsive. Wisdom does slow down, and it gathers information. It seeks advice. It learns from people who have gone before. Those are all good things. And in fact, I've avoided a lot of bad decisions because I was willing to slow down. So I don't think the answer is just say yes, but I also don't think the answer is keep asking questions forever either. I've learned something about myself. Eventually, my questions stop changing. I'm no longer discovering anything new. I'm asking the same questions, getting the same answers. Nothing new is changing, except maybe the calendar. That's the moment I have to be honest with myself. Am I looking for wisdom, or am I looking for another reason to wait? That's a very uncomfortable question, because sometimes the answer isn't wisdom at all. It's fear wearing the wisdom's clothes. I think the biggest difference is this. Wisdom asks questions because it wants to understand reality. Fear asks questions because it wants guarantees. And life almost never gives us guarantees. I've also learned this over the years. The opportunities that I regret usually aren't the ones where I made a mistake. They're the ones I never pursued because I spent so much time trying to eliminate every unknown possibility. And here's the irony. Knowing what I know about myself today, I honestly believe I could say yes to the opportunity and figure it out later, just like Richard Branson suggests, not because I never make mistakes, but because I've learned I can recover from them. So why do I still hesitate? Well, sometimes because wisdom tells me to, but sometimes because fear sounds exactly like wisdom. And distinguishing between the two may be one of the hardest lessons I've ever had to learn. Looking back, I started to understand something. Wisdom and fear often begin by saying the very same things. Slow down, think carefully, don't rush. But eventually, they part ways. Fear keeps asking until nothing uncertain remains. Wisdom asks until it understands enough to move forward anyway. I don't think the goal is to eliminate uncertainty. I honestly don't think that's possible. I think the goal is learning to recognize when questions are bringing wisdom and when they're simply feeding your fear. Because one day something became very clear. I wasn't waiting for wisdom. I was waiting to stop feeling afraid.